this is happening.
Yeah! All right. Getting back to work on the S14. We had our toy drive the other day and they had to move everything around the shop. So I finally dug the S14 out of storage. And still, you know, nice light coating of dust on it. To get you up to speed, bought this car, 95 240 SX with a Koki front end, 2,500 bucks as a rolling chassis, no engine or trans, otherwise complete. Ripped everything out of the engine bay. I had Ivan from Strassport paint it nice gloss white. Picked up a 1JZ CD09 combo from JDM California. Did a ton of maintenance to it. Collins adapters kit, and Brett actually came out here and helped shoot the first episode where we put this engine in. Hey, that's an engine in there. All right.
Yeah, sweet.
Sick. Plasma Man, intake manifold, Garret GTX3076, future fab manifold, bunch of chase base parts. Last time you saw this car was at Rywire getting a body harness done, and the Wiring Specialties engine harness made it up to that.
What we have here is a 12 output PDM. It's a full solid state system that requires no fuses and no relays.
It's been a long time since I've worked on this car, so I kind of got to jump back into it and figure out where I left off. I got to get all the plumbing done. When I say plumbing, I mean every single line has to get redone on this car. I have to do the entire fuel system from the tank forward, the regulator, power steering, the coolers up front, catch can lines, make a catch can, make radiator hoses upper and lower. I think that's it for now. I picked up some nice parts from the dudes over at Chase Base. So I got a power steering kit. They make really nice stuff. So I already have their tucked radiator and brake master cylinder delete. And Chase has been super helpful with me bothering him about 1J stuff because he has a pretty dope 1J swap E36. I've just been pestering them with questions. They also make a fuel line kit for the S14, so that'll be the braided lines from the tank forward. Silicone hose, Mark from Pegasus watches all of our stuff every single day, keeps me updated on what we're doing. He let me know that they pretty much have any silicone we could ever need. I'm gonna make custom upper, because this is trash, and this was wrong. I'm gonna redo this with some 45s and make that cleaner, and then make a bottom. I'll move that fuel pressure regulator and figure out where that belongs. First things first, we have some dash 10 lines coming off of the Drift Motion oil filter housing delete. What we're gonna do is route those out through this hole in the frame right here, which we'll wrap in some sort of trim to keep the edges soft, and come around over to the cooler up front. What I like to do first is put the hose end, the AN fitting, onto one side of the hose, and then map out where it's gonna go. What we'll do is we'll pull one of those fittings off, put some of the Earl's line on, and then run it through and figure out where it's gonna go. That's an overview. Now I'm gonna get to work. So we got the oil cooler lines plumbed, come out of the housing. They go through the frame rail, come up behind the headlight, and they go across and go to the cooler, which is in front of the radiator. Now I'm gonna set up the power steering kit. We gotta get from the pump to a reservoir that we're gonna mount here and down to the rack. I'm a big fan of this Chase Base stuff. Just gonna fanboy out real quick. So I was down to kinda do my whole engine bay with this stuff because it's really nice fitting, has all of the lines that you need, and even comes with the brackets. If you're like me, don't know how to fabricate, don't have the time to fabricate, this makes your engine bay look really sick without all the effort. Gonna bolt this up real quick, just gotta figure out how this bracket works. Pretty sure it goes to here and then puts the container somewhere like that. Gonna bolt that up, run some lines, and then put the intake manifold on for the final time and get to working on water line. Oh man, so I hate making lines. And this was just about the easiest frigging thing ever to install. So it came with all the lines to get you from the feed to the rack, and then the rack and the high pressure line to the pump. And then it comes with a line that goes to power steering pump. I'm gonna put the intake manifold back on, not final, just kind of place it back in so I can see how to route the feed for the pump to get that line over. Just gonna do a quick mock-up. Also wanna see if I get the intake manifold on without having to pull the power steering reservoir out.
Looking good.
Just trying to beat you and getting your car running.
How far away are you?
Pretty close.
You think so?
Day or two.
Oh, really?
No.
I was gonna say, like, I guess I have to stay and work on my truck.
All right, got the reservoir set up, got the line ran around to here. It's a little tight, but you know, this is made for the stock intake manifold, so most of the plumbing's done on this side. I'm gonna move over and start doing the water lines. Pegasus, the dude Bart over there has been supplying us with tons of oddball parts for all of our projects. Told me that they have a ton of silicone in stock, so if I ever needed anything, hit them up. I have to build some water lines for the upper and lower radiator. I could do it at a hard line, but I did it and I hated the way it looked. And then it was really close to the intake pipe, which I didn't really feel like heating up with hot pipe from the coolant. I got some silicone, and what I'm gonna do is cut 2 really short 45s, cut it really tight there and really tight there, and then same on that side, and then connect it with a piece of metal that I'll powder coat to match the piping and the valve covers and stuff. So should be pretty simple. The lower one, I do need to chop the thermostat outlet hose and kind of like weld that at an angle. That'll have to wait for tomorrow, but for now I'm gonna do the upper. Got all of the upper hoses hooked up. So I did the turbo inlet, upper radiator hose, and then figured out the bottom, but I'm gonna have to have someone weld it. It's basically taking the outlet here, cutting it in half, flipping it, so it'll look something like that. And that should clear all of my turbo oil drain. I think that's about all I can do tonight. I'm gonna get back to it tomorrow night and see if I could button the rest of this up. All right, so doing a really bad job of filming today because we only have one GoPro in the shop. Apology for this section sucking. I bribed Marcus in to come help me work. Don't look so happy.
I don't know where the tools are at, man.
We don't have tools. Needed to get some fabrication work done, so you know my talent runs short. I got Vargas here. He's gonna make up that lower water outlet, thermostat outlet.
Yeah, I gotta fix those things too.
And he welded up some fittings on the on my valve covers, and then I grinded through them. So my bad, you're gonna have to fix that too. So we're gonna get this thing cracking, and then I'm going to do the fuel lines from the fuel rail back to the tank before I actually open up the tank, and then it ruins my day, and I find out that this whole thing is garbage because he had E85 in it, and it's been sitting for like a decade. If we watched anything in Brian Scotto's Audi rehab episode, we know what that'll look like.
Any guesses what color the gas is? It's not clear. It's not even yellow. It's more like a diarrhea brown.
So we got a Chase Bays fuel line kit, which should be good to go from the tank all the way forward to the fuel rail. One thing is I got a multi-port Radium Engineering fuel pressure regulator, and I don't really know how to make it work. I have to figure out how to route the fuel lines in the engine bay. I think I'll go pump, filter, through the rail, come out, and then go end of the rail to the regulator, and then return back to the tank. Figure that out. I also have to plumb my flex fuel sensor and put a fuel pressure gauge somewhere. I'm gonna work all that out and then start running some lines. All the lines ran up here. Going on the fuel rail. I need a fitting for -8 ORB to -6 AN. So that's just kind of in there as a placeholder now. Regulator set up. Now I got the lines all coming out the bottom of the car. Put the car up, strap it up to the body, and then figure out how to get it up to the tank. Fuel lines ran all the way to the back. I just got some Adele clamps and I'm gonna strap these up. Just gonna be strapping those up here. Some nutserts to go onto the frame rail. And then I'm gonna chop this here. Have an AEM flex fuel sensor. So we'll put that right in here and just make a quick little bracket. It's bolted down right there. That's it. Then just gotta clamp it up in the tank and change the in-tank fuel pump, which when I pull that fuel pump assembly out, we'll see how corroded and shitty the fuel tank is. Okay, so I gotta do a quick shout out to Dustin at Boxo Tools. After seeing the episode on my M3 and my pathetic box of tools, he reached out and gave me a really sick deal on this nice carry-on box. Now I have a nice little assortment of tools here, so I could actually not look like such a pathetic sap. If you need a nice, affordable set of tools, check out Boxo. Shameless plug, but really stoked on that. Right, so fuel pump out of the car. The rubber is all eaten up from the E85 that's been sitting in the tank. So I guess this is why they tell you to not actually run E85 unless you have E85 lines, or if it sits that it goes bad. But got a Deechworks pump. Comes with the install kit. Looks pretty simple. So basically this is going to replace that. Comes with the hose to connect it to the hard pipe. New wiring, clamps, and a new filter, considering this one is completely gone. This pump should be able to handle 600 horsepower with the 85, so it should be plenty enough for now. If the tank is completely destroyed or I eventually need more fuel, I think I would probably just ditch this setup or do a dual pump with like surge tank or something. But I'm hoping that this just works for now. Alright, so there comes a time in every project where you completely regret starting this and absolutely hate what you're doing. Last night was one of those times because we had to pull the engine out and the transmission, and now we're back to where we started. Luckily, I got Dan here and Jose, and they both worked on which FD team?
We worked with Dean Carney and Bridges Racing, Peter and James as well. So.
Yeah, so I got an FD team here helping me, so I think I'm in good hands. But what happened was, when I grinded out the bell housing of the J2 bell housing for the clutch, I didn't grind enough material away. So when we went to go set the engine at top dead center again, we realized that the clutch hit the bell housing right in here. So this completely sucks. We got the trans out without pulling the engine, but it was pretty difficult, and we realized that if we were going to try to put this transmission back in, it would never happen.
It was like, you're never gonna line that up, so.
Pulling the engine out took 15 minutes. All right, 2 hours later, and this thing is back to where it was 2 days ago. A little bit behind, but not too bad. Got the engine back in the car, got the wiring harness back in, exhaust is on. We sat the engine about 1.5 inches further back to get some fan clearance here. But now some of my intercooler pipes don't fit because all these plasma clamps aren't like traditional silicone where you could gain a little bit of space there. So I had to really make them work. Might have to go to a silicone or even just weld and cut and weld those pipes a little bit longer. For now, still working on this thing here. Need to get a proper fitting for the power steering outlet. Fuel lines are all made, everything's done. What I'm gonna do is set up my coil packs. I got these really nice LS1 style coil packs from Thorn Industries, and they come with these really nice carbon fiber mounts. Just make them sit up high. These are cool because they're GM coil packs, so if we have a problem on the road or at the track, they'll be super easy to get rather than trying to source these 1J coil packs. So I'm gonna bolt those up, change my VVTi solenoid because that's broken, put the valve cover on. Dan's gonna help me make a couple small parts that I need, like a dipstick bracket, maybe a throttle cable bracket. And then I gotta bleed the brakes, bleed the clutch. We'll be moving on to firing this thing up. All right, that's it for the night. We got this thing pretty much back to where it was, plus a little bit of progress. Painted the valve covers. Dan made a custom dipstick, throttle cable bracket, mounted up new coil packs. All we gotta do is finish making the throttle cable, bleed the brakes, hook up the fuel lines, which are already made, and then Rywire is coming here on Thursday. Been a long day working on this thing, so I'm ready to go home. All right, we're getting this thing running today. I just buttoned this thing up and Ryan should be here any minute. Got everything back together. Don't sweat the wiring. We're gonna mess with all that. Once he gets here, gotta pull the intake manifold back off, change a plug for the TPS, and then all I really gotta do is just finish making the throttle cable. This thing should fire, pending we don't have any big issues, but I feel pretty confident. Familiar face in the house. What's up, Ryan?
What's up? How's it going? Good
So he's here to help me fire this thing up.
It's Aaron.
Yo, what's up, bud?
What's going on?
So what are we doing now?
Well, we gotta sync timing and make sure that the ECU sees TDC. We gotta find all the cam settings. We gotta put all the sensor data in the ECU. We're basically gonna start from 0 point. We're gonna put all the firing order, the information for the coils, the information for temps and fuel pressures and everything you could think of in the ECU, and put all that in the wizard, and then we're gonna get the engine fired up.
So I'm running a AEM Infinity standalone, so this isn't a stock ECU situation where you just plug your ECU in and you prime the turbo and then send it and hope it runs. So there's a little bit more involved to that. So I'm really stoked that these guys are here because I don't know what the I'd do. Getting oil pressure yet?
Not quite.
Working on it.
All right, so right now what we're doing is looking real scientific with safety glasses on. We're just testing sensors out, and they're making sure that the engine has oil pressure. Right now it has no spark plugs in it, so that's why it doesn't sound like it has compression. I also put a bunch of oil down the cylinders when I knew I was storing the engine for a while, which we didn't want to foul out all my spark plugs. May or may not have been necessary. Yeah, we're gonna continue to test the sensors. I just hooked up the fuel pump in the back. Gonna run up the block and get some fresh 91, see if my tank's destroyed or not. So what are you setting initial timing now?
I'm syncing the ignition. We're turning up the fuel pressure, the base fuel pressure.
And listening for leaks.
So what are you setting base to, like 40?
43.
Okay.
We're good to go now with the base pressure set.
I am going to make sure that the coils and the injectors are back on, and they are. Okay, cool.
So what are we looking for when we fire this up? Oil pressure, obviously.
We already got oil pressure. We got fuel pressure. We have the injectors are firing, the coils are firing. So we're good to go. Ready?
Yeah, let's try it out. Could have already fouled out the plugs. Yeah! Woo!
That's all the oil that you poured down the cylinder.
Hey man, it's quiet for having just one little resonator.
Sounds good. It's just oily, man. Whoa, look at that.
Hey man,
Good work.
dude.
Hit the red switch, primes everything. We gotta program that dash, and then here's the ECU side. Everything's on, there's no errors or anything.
So we
this
turn
is
it
the
on.
starter right here.
Yep. Smooth. Oh man, I think idle's great right off the bat.
I know.
So we got the car running, found a couple small issues, but we'll remedy those. Still have a couple things to do, so we gotta finish making the throttle cable, tighten up some loose ends, go through the car, kind of sort it, and then we'll just run it on the lift a bunch, shake down any problems we may have. Thanks to this dude again. Killed it on the wiring harness. The PDM box is super sick. Next episode, we'll have this thing on the dyno, see what type of power it makes, and then it'll come back here and we'll do suspension, diff, and all that jazz, and then we'll go out and smash it.
All right, so there you have it. Another one in the can. Be sure to subscribe to this channel because here is where all Hoonigan builds are going to be living from here on out. Now, shows like Carcane Rehab, Garage, Staff Inspection, Knuckle Busters, Unpro's Garage, who knows? Anyway, be sure to subscribe and make sure that you comment below on who you want to see on this channel, what kind of builds you want to see on this channel, if you want her to appear at your bat mitzvah, quinceañera,